Hello and welcome to the tennis. Au revoir, Andy. Murray and Djokovic part ways before Paris. Swiatek struggles. Iga's drought extends to a full year. At home in Rome, can Paolini and Sinner complete the hometown double? That's all ahead on the tennis with me, Bree Stewart. By my side, it's Australia's second favourite host and our very own head of original content, Save. Not saying your last name.
I'm in a different chair, which is good. We're mixing it up.
We are mixing it up.
I'm not being demoted though, am I? Not that you have the power to do that.
Not yet.
We're just
Maybe
sharing
one
the
day.
load of hosting. You
We
know, it's
are.
nice to have, share a voice, and
It is
we're a
nice.
team. This isn't my show, it's ours. And by our, I mean everyone in the room, including
Okay,
Andy
we
and
might
Harper.
cut you off there. Across the table,
Good
we've
hosting,
got the
that was
former
really good.
coach of Aussie stars, Nick Kyrgios, and Sam Stosur, Simon Ray.
Hi, Bree. Hi, Zave. Good to
G'day,
be back.
Rosa.
So good to have you.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And for the second week in a row, it's ATP alumni and current WTA coach Luke Saville. How was a weekend visit from the fam?
Very good, very good. From the country to the big smoke, and went to a couple of footy games, and Carlton got up.
Yes.
So I'll take
Which
that.
we knew because of the
That's for sure.
tarot.
The tarot
Yeah, the
cards,
tarot.
Oh, I thought we were
tarot
gonna get
told
through
us.
this episode.
We were pretty nervous for a while in that game, but got up there and then went to another one on Sunday. So nice, relaxing weekend.
Did you do anything else, or just footy, and then send them home?
I played a bit of pennant on Saturday, so
Okay.
so brought them out and brought the dog out. He's an absolute nightmare at the tennis.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He would, when people walked in between him and me, I guess he thought someone was attacking me, and he had to protect me from the people. So it was a bit of a nightmare, but good fun, great weather.
Yeah, and you
spell of
survived.
weather.
Tofu was there to save you.
He was. He's he's 8 kilos, 7, 8 kilos, so he's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good guard dog.
How are you striking him these days on the court? How are you striking him?
Yeah, not too bad. Went out there and, as you know, Simon, I'm pretty, when I was playing, I was pretty professional and ticked all the boxes. And on Saturday,
Not so much.
I rocked up 5 minutes before, rolled a few serves over and started. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a change of scenery for
You're
me.
relaxing
but,
into it. Good on you.
good fun. Play for Royal South Yarra and great club.
We've got a jam-packed show to get through today, but before we get into what's caught your eye, we're going to look at some of the big updates from overnight in Rome because some big things did happen overnight. So we had Qinwen defeated Arena Sabalenka.
Ooh, from a
Which is
very
pretty
high
big.
perch, she begins to
6-4,
fall,
6-3.
perhaps? Or is Sabalenka going to bounce back and just keep being amazing?
Well, I think Sabalenka's form's been nothing short of immaculate, really, over across the entire 2025 season. So it was a win that Zheng needed to have against Sabalenka, particularly given the head-to-head, which has been absolutely one-way traffic in Sabalenka's favour. So I don't think it at all hurts or hinders Sabalenka's preparation for Roland Garros. She's won a ton of matches lately. She's in as good a form, I think, as we've ever seen her, particularly going into the clay court slam. So doesn't hurt her and just gives Qinwen Zheng that little bit of a boost coming into Roland Garros next week or the week after for the main draw players.
And she was getting some tips from the crowd.
Yeah.
And her response was to shut the up.
Really?
Yeah. Told a
Oh.
fan to pipe down in the front row.
Quite like that.
Yeah, but because I love
think
going to
I'd do
tennis,
that.
but the crowd is starting to change a little bit, and sometimes
rowdier.
Like get into it, but then just enjoy the match.
Yeah, especially in Rome. There's been a few occasions this year in that tournament where the crowd's getting a little lippy.
Yeah,
And I think even Alex Demonar had to say a few words to the crowd. And there was one other match as well, maybe Menzik. So, yeah, it's a little, I guess, unfortunate that the crowd's sort of getting to that point. But,
It is
yeah,
disappointing.
the first final, the first time she hasn't been in a final since February. So, as Simon said, it's just incredible run of form.
And it'll be interesting to see Qinwen again at Roland Garros because the last time she was there, she won an Olympic gold medal.
ooh yes,
Yeah, so
her new favourite turf.
yeah, it could be.
Which is class.
We also saw a rematch from Madrid with Goff and Andreeva, and Goff defeating her again 6-4, 7-6. What heights will this rivalry reach? Coco is 21 and Mira's 18 matches so far.
Battle of the babies, all very young.
Yeah, very exciting. And Goff leads that head-to-head 4-0 now. So, yeah, she's got the 3 years on Mira, which is quite substantial at that age, 21 to 18. But very exciting for the women's game, tennis in general. Two amazing players. And Andreeva, I think she can win multiple slams and have an incredible career, same as Coco Gauff.
I think exciting is the right word. When you think about these two, the first word that springs to mind for me is athletes, physicality, just incredible athletes, both of these women. And I think they're going to be seeing, as you touched on, Brie, a lot more of each other over the next decade plus, because both of these women are going to be at the pointy end of whatever tournaments they enter for a long time to come.
And then we saw Musetti defeated Zverev, which now sees Zverev moving from his number 2 ranking.
Yeah, that's got to hurt leading into a Grand Slam.
Yeah, so Alcaraz is back in number 2. Zverev has moved down to number 3. But good match from Musetti, 7-6, 6-4 against him.
The old switcheroo at the pointy end of the tournament. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, Musetti's just playing incredible tennis right now. And I think someone said he's, can only sort of play on clay. But a lot of people don't realise he made the final of Queen's and semis of Wimbledon last year on the grass. So I think he's one of those players that can definitely push for that top 4, top 5 because he can play on all surfaces. So definitely clay's his preferred surface, but he can play on all surfaces. And I think he's just coming into his own there. I think he might be 23, 24 years of age and amazing player and very versatile.
Yep. An all-rounder, but can perform. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
And as is so often the case in these things, this is one where the head-to-head matchup plays a role, and it's 3-1 in Musetti's favour. So for whatever reason, Musetti's game style seems to trouble Zverev. There's not many players that, clearly with Zverev's ranking and record being as good as what it is, there's not many players have a head-to-head edge over him. So this is a bit of a quirk that someone ranked where Musetti is still an elite player would lead the head-to-head to that extent against Zverev. Now, some of those have been on clay, but not all of them. He got him in Vienna at the back end of last year on indoor hard, and he's beaten him the last couple of times on clay. So 3-1 in Musetti's favour. He likes coming up against Alexander Zverev.
And lastly, Alcaraz defeated Jack Draper 6-4, 6-4. Draper's looking very strong on what should be his least favourable surface, but he's obviously all eyes on him as we approach Wimbledon as well, because I think England's got all their hopes and prayers and dreams on him.
Don't they? But they'll turn on him. They'll say he's Scottish or something like they do with all their heroes. But Demon had a decent run, didn't he?
Yeah. Another 4th round for Demon, and he has over a week to freshen up for the French Open, where, as we know, he made the quarters last year. So eyeing off another run there, and I think during the clay he went 2 4th rounds and 2 quarterfinals. So on his least favourite surface, he's done very well, and I think he's just sitting around that sort of 10 mark right now. So I feel like if he can hold that top 10 after the clay, going into the grass, his best surface, and then onto the hard court, where he didn't play much last year because he had that hip injury from Wimbledon. So not many points to defend there. And I think he's been pushing. He's been as high as top 7 and absolutely incredible the way he's just getting everything out of himself.
Yeah, was it last year at Roland Garros where there was like the mini Demon, the kid dressed up as him? That
it was.
That was you got to get him back.
And he went to
that was
every match.
Yeah, he was super keen.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so cute.
All right, we'll find him. If you're out there listening, you probably said, I'm not speaking French, but get to Le Tennis.
Le Tennis. Okay, let's move on to what's caught your eye.
Caught your eye.
I was going to kick off.
No, sorry, it was my attempt at a sting.
I'll
try again later.
I really liked it. I was going to kick off with mine first, just because I'm in the hosting chair, so I will be
power going to your head.
Focused on my own. Yep. No, but I wanted to discuss. It came out this week that Djokovic and Murray have parted ways. So Murray's been his coach for the past 6 months. We saw them in action here at the Australian Open as well. They were expected to continue until at least Wimbledon, but he has made first round exits in 4 of his last 5 tournaments. What do we think?
Yeah, I saw this news yesterday, and I feel like it's probably been a disappointing stretch for Djokovic. I think we sort of can't ignore that he still made the semis of the Australian Open, final of Miami, maybe a little bit injured in those matches. So, obviously the Australian Open one where he pulled out. So we've just been so used to his lofty expectations, winning at least 2 slams per year. So it hasn't been the partnership that we probably thought it could have been. Obviously, they've potentially just sort of butted heads a little bit, didn't work out the way they would have wanted and parted ways. But great to see they both gave each other shout-outs on Twitter and on their social medias. But it'll be interesting where Djokovic goes from here and sort of how much longer he plays for.
Because, I mean, I'm sure they're still mates, but it always felt strange to me.
But were they ever mates is my question.
I know. I'm being a bit political here, but...
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, you're Novak Djokovic and you're Andy Murray. Why did Novak need Andy? Was it just for show? Like, look at me, I've got a coach and I'm not going to listen to him.
No, I don't think it's for show. No, but I think there's that element that is always tricky to move beyond, right? Or not an easy impediment to overcome in terms of you've been adversaries at the absolute gilt-edged
Here, especially in Melbourne at the Australian Open.
Deep in Grand Slams. And it's easy to say, but I think a lot harder to do to put that stuff, that baggage to one side and become united as a team on high trust and psychological safety. And I think the best coach-player relationships are those relationships where they're entirely open with each other. You've got this level of honesty that's just unparalleled. And I wouldn't imagine it's easy to get to that. You overlay some of Novak's recent struggles against that, and Luke's done a great job of touching on some of those against such a lofty standard that we're accustomed to seeing from him. He's at a really, really tricky spot in his career. Not for the first time. We've seen him have, perhaps not to this extent, but we've seen him have some dips along the way. Probably going back now, I have to check my records, but 6 or 7 years, we saw him have a bit of a dip in his career there. He's rebounded before. This one looks like it's really serious or really grave, again, up against that lofty backdrop. And so I just got to feel like the tension would have been high in the camp. These wouldn't have been easy conversations or easy moments to navigate through, let alone coming from that background where they've been adversaries for the best part of 20 years. So I'd have to say it's probably not a huge surprise, knowing some of the volatility that might have been at play here.
Yeah. I mean, it just was always weird to me that someone's being coached by someone who was always beaten by you. So... No, like not always. Sorry, not always. But just thinking about Australian Open, like how many quarter semis and finals did they meet, and Novak would defeat him, and now he's meant to be taking advice. So
but I suppose, and Luke would be able to talk to this. I suppose, and I've got my own bias here. Sometimes if you're Novak, you're potentially the greatest player of all time. You can't be coached by anyone then to that line of thinking. So
that's a good point.
No one's got his record. Are you prepared to take advice or not? It's a little bit like sometimes with a coaching hat on. Every parent wants their youngster to hit with a player better than them. But if you're Novak, you'd never take to the practice court ever.
Is no one left.
That's exactly right. So Luke would have his own view on what makes a great player is not necessarily, I don't think, the ingredients that will make a great coach.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he went to Andy to try and, I guess, have someone where he could relate to for those bigger matches. Andy had been at the pointy end of so many slams, so many events where they played each other. And maybe Djokovic was sort of trying to get his insight into maybe what he saw from about Djokovic's game from an opponent standpoint. So you don't really know, but yeah, back to your point, Simon, I think someone like Djokovic and a lot of these top 10 players especially, like if they wanted someone to coach them who was better than them, there wouldn't be many around.
Not many candidates, are there? Yeah.
Not many candidates. So, yeah, interesting. I agree it's a strange appointment when it first happened, but not too surprised that that's sort of come to an end.
Well, we should just change tennis then. Once you're the best, you just leave.
That's it.
And he just needs to go to paddle or something, or pickleball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go and dominate the next format.
Question, who do you think will be his next coach?
Great question.
What's on the cards now? Where to? From a coaching point of view. Luke Saville.
Yeah, you've got the job.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm leaving in a few days. We're starting a trial at the French Open.
Breaking news.
I got a call from an unknown number, which I usually don't take last night.
Did you pay that debt back, or is that a different one? Right.
Yeah, I've probably got some
different
spam on my phone. But, he parted ways with his long-term coach, Marion Vida, a couple of years back, and who knows? Maybe he goes back there, but I feel like someone, I guess for the tail end of his career right now, and someone who maybe he can relate to, maybe enjoy it with. Potentially, there wasn't much enjoyment with Murray there, and so maybe even like a relation, possibly even one of his brothers. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting one. Do you think he's got another slam in him, Simon?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Luke, because my mind went to the same place. Is it back to a Marion Vida or a Goran Ivanisevic, those people that have been key ingredients in his corner for so long? And perhaps that stability and solidarity right now is what's sorely needed if you're inside the Djokovic camp. I'm not going to say no. Yeah, I've got to think, come Wimbledon, come the US Open, I think it's unlikely to be at Roland Garros. And come the Australian Open again, I'm not going to say no because I'm just not silly enough, I hope, to write off what in my mind is the greatest player of all time. So I need more evidence. We've had a little bit of evidence recently, but I need more evidence before I can definitively sit here and say, no, I don't think so, the time's up.
Cool. Well, we'll see what happens with Djokovic in the coming weeks as we get to Roland Garros. But Simon, we're going to stay on you. What caught your eye this week?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Peyton Stearns, and we've seen her with some remarkable back-to-back victories this week in Rome. But even coming back a little bit further beyond that, this has been an interesting story of resilience and maybe humour in the face of some adversity, and she's maybe handled some things a little bit differently than we might have become accustomed to most of these players handling them in the circumstances, but I think she's been true to herself, right? So what I mean by that, in early April, she loses her coach, Tom Hill, who is the previous coach of Maria Sakkari, worked with Peyton Stearns for the best part of a year. They started in the clay court swing 12 months ago. Tom said, Peyton, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going back to the camp of Sakkari. Early April. Leaves Peyton Stearns. And this is not an off-season thing, remember. This is now a month out from Roland Garros. Wimbledon's right around the corner. This is in the midst of the season.
So it's not good timing,
well,
basically.
Some of the worst.
Doesn't get much worse.
Worst time to be dumped.
And I think Peyton Stearns, to her credit, kind of handled it with a degree of humour that I quite liked. Unique, and we don't often see it, right? Went on social media and said, well, application's now open. DM me. I'm looking for a coach.
I love it.
And I think has since landed on Blaz Kavcic, and I think she posted again, application's now closed. And they started...
Missed out again. Come on, Luke.
Good humour.
Yeah, they started... We don't often see it. They started in Madrid. She did really well. She defeated our own Australian Kim Burrell there. She beat Amanda Anisimova, Masarova, who's a good player, lost to Sabalenka. And then in Rome, she's gone up a gear again. So she's defeated Kalinskaya. She's defeated Keys 7-6 in the third.
Wow.
She's defeated Osaka 7-6 in the third. And she's defeated Alina Svitolina, if you don't mind,
7-6 in the third?
7-6 in the third. So it's been the most remarkable run.
She needs to get a lottery ticket with those numbers.
Yeah. So clearly, despite all of that upheaval and adversity and change in her camp over the last month or two, she's playing some of the best tennis of her life. So I tip my cap to her in that regard. And it's easy to understand why, even though I mentioned how difficult perhaps that backdrop is. Her game is so well suited to the clay courts and to the red clay in particular. She's someone that is forehand dominant in her game, and she smacks the ball. She doesn't hold back. So in terms of what we come to expect, in the women's game, the top 10 players in the world average 118 kilometres an hour on their forehand and 2,400 revs. That's speed and spin. What does she do? Peyton Stearns on forehand side. She's averaging 123, so 5 kilometres an hour more than the top 10, and she's averaging way up at 2,600 revs on the ball on forehand side. So these are elite numbers.
Yeah.
And Luke would be able to talk to, and it's not just on forehand side. She actually exceeds the average as well on backhand side from speed and spin. So that ball's coming at you in a hurry, and it's jumping and exploding at you on the red clay.
Yeah.
She's got a kick serve to go with it. And the other thing is, from a tactical perspective, she's someone that one of the tactical measures we measure here on our dashboards, Luke could talk to this. How often are you looking for your forehand out of your backhand corner? If you're someone like Daniil Medvedev, you're not really looking for that play. You're happy to trust your backhand. If you're someone like Peyton Stearns, 40% of your forehands are out of your backhand corner. That means she's hungry to find her forehand at every and any available opportunity. Wow. The number there, what's par, is 20%. So she doubles that. She's desperate to hit her forehand, and when she finds it, she can do some damage.
But she must be quick on her feet to get there.
That's exactly right, and that's a really good point to make. Zave, it's one thing to want to play like that. It's another thing entirely to be able to physically commit to that and implement that game style.
No, well said, Simon. And I think, the slower courts allow her to actually get around and use her feet to hit those forehands, because Dasha actually played her at Wimbledon last year, and she beat her, and I thought it was a pretty good matchup on the grass because we're actually able to get it into the backhand and the speed of the surface. I guess you're just able to do that, and then also get her into her forehand corner, because as Simon's saying, she's sort of camping in that backhand corner quite a bit. So it's very interesting. She's playing great on the clay. I think she moves very well as well, and I think we sort of underestimate the power of college tennis as well. She came through college and just played so many matches. You learn to compete at college, and I think she's done that. And yeah, she plays a lot of three-setters, as you alluded to, and I think she's a real chance for the French Open as well. And great to see that sort of story of resilience. And you lose your coach, and in the middle of the season, and you come and you're in the semis, and you've got to crack at Paolini. So very good.
I was going to ask, what do you think, both of you? How's she going to go against Paolini?
Well, they've not played before, but who's to say she can't? Yeah, she can't continue to ride the crest of the wave, right?
Yeah.
And I think the key is when you've got this type of momentum, it's hard to get. So when you're running hot like this against a backdrop of tumult and upheaval, and she'll be desperate to keep this going. She's got conditions that suit. The courts in Rome in particular are generally pretty lively, which exacerbates the effect of that spin on her forehand side in particular and her kick serve. So she's going to be a handful, and then she's up against the hometown gal. So probably a 50-50 matchup for me.
Yeah, probably it's a question of what she's got left in the tank.
Yeah,
I think there's a few of those 6 in the thirds
call.
as well. So Paolini playing at home, there'll be some nerves there as well, but obviously the home crowd advantage as well. So very intriguing, that match. I don't know, it's probably genuine 50-50 and depends a little bit on Stearns, how she's feeling, but probably give the edge to Paolini there, who French Open final last year.
Yeah.
Final of Wimbledon as well. Beat Dasha first round of the French and thought it wasn't a great performance from Dasha, and then 2 weeks later she's in the final. So it turned out to be an okay performance. And then the final of the Wimbledon as well. So great story of resilience. Actually for Paolini as well. She's a little older and sort of hanging around that.
How old is she now? 29?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she is.
It's really just the last couple of years where she's really broken through. So, very small. So she's got to work super hard. It's a great sort of, example for Dasha as well, who's not the biggest. And you've just got to be there every point, point in, point out, and really compete. So, good match there.
Yeah. So let's not stop you on your roll. What's caught your eye, Luke?
So I wanted to talk about the withdrawals and lucky losers in Rome this week. And we've got 9 in total, 4 lucky losers on the men's side and 5 on the women's. And outside of those as well, there were 4 more pullouts on the women's side where they weren't lucky losers, but they were within the tournament, and 3 more on the men's, including Humbert, Breezeboy, Tomo, and Matteo Berrettini. So, and then on the women's side, Badosa, Siegerman, who beat Dasha in qualies, Kvitova, Bencic, Folinets. And not sure what you think, Simon, but I've been saying it for a while, and just the schedule, the season is so long, it's so physical. I think the game is becoming more and more physical as well. We're only in May, and we're seeing that amount of pullouts and lucky losers. And I think these 2-week events as well, they're super long, and you're just hanging around the courts. And I think, we haven't even played our second Grand Slam of the year yet. And, I feel like a lot of the players are sort of labouring at the moment. So very interesting one. I feel like we need to sort of shorten the season possibly. But then again, we want the top players playing all these events. So it is a tricky one. Not sure what the answer exactly is, but I feel like something's got to sort of change there.
There's a bit of a silver lining to it, not necessarily for those bigger names, but more for the younger players coming through, the lower ranked players. Like, they get a chance. Like, these lucky losers, they're lucky for a reason because they know that they've finally got an opportunity to put themselves on the world stage. Yeah,
that's the great thing about a lucky loser. You get a second chance, and especially in these Master Series where there's buys and lucky losers can go into that second round slot. So it definitely is very, very lucky for those players, but I just think, look, we want the top players playing, but you've got Djokovic, Monfils, Goffin, Humbert, Berrettini pulling out. Not sure it's great for the game, having those guys injured and playing injured. And the other thing with these Master Series, there's mandatories. So if you're sort of healthy, you have to play. Otherwise, there's fines. So,
and can you explain that a bit, Luke? Because I know that, so if you have, you have to play. You have to prove that you're not fit to play as well, right?
You can't
for our listeners. You can't just. You've got to have see the doctors and
even them. You've only got so many of those cards that you can play.
Pull.
Only a certain amount, and if you're healthy and don't play, it's obviously a big fine, and you take a 0 on your ranking. So, I guess for people that don't know that, you get 18 slots for your points,
countable
tournaments throughout the year. So a 0 on one of those, if you're top 100, is substantial because probably if you're top 20, that 18th slot could be a 50-pointer. Yeah. So it's actually substantial, and that could be the difference of multiple ranking spots. So it is a tough one. I don't think there's too many other sports where there's an 11-month season.
No, it's bonkers,
especially something as physical as tennis. Yeah. So I think, and then I guess the other argument is if we shorten it, a lot of these top players playing exhibitions, And that really contradicts it. I completely get that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you guys are meant to be resting.
They might say it's less pressure.
It's a job.
But
like,
again,
we all need money.
Yeah,
it's an expensive job.
Because we get 4 weeks off a year in Australia. You know, they get 4 weeks off. Granted, I'm sitting in a chair talking into a microphone and not running a couple hundred Ks on a court. But
look, I couldn't agree more. Something's got to give. And I think what we're seeing is,
it looks like it is,
as the Grand Slams too are becoming more and more attractive to the playing group, and this has been the case now, or a trend for 5+ years. We're seeing more and more priority placed on being absolutely healthy and cherry ripe for day one of the slams, which means it's becoming increasingly difficult for the other events in the tennis ecosystem to continue to exist against that backdrop, because everyone wants to be right for day one of Roland Garros. So something's got to give. Luke, couldn't agree with Luke more. We've got to revamp the tennis calendar. It's not a new problem, but as of yet, we're yet to find the solution.
Luke, what would be the dream scenario you think for players?
I would say dream scenario would be almost finishing a couple weeks after the US Open. And I was saying this argument to someone, and then they countered me and said, "Oh, what about Asia? What about Europe?" I said, "Well, there's always going to be tournaments there. Like, you're only saying that is because that's what we know."
Yeah, good point.
And I said, "Look, it's unlucky. I love the tournaments in Asia, but something has to give, as you've been saying." And I think 2.5 months, 3 months off, it's not crazy. Like, that's still a 9-month season. You know, footy, as we know, is 6 months. So I think, I'll use Alex de Minaur as an example because I'm close to that scenario, but he plays to early December almost every year. And because he's got Davis Cup and the end of year finals, the last few years, the top 8 finals. And he comes out to Australia on about the 20th or 21st of December. He might have 1 week off, 1 week pre-season.
Before you know,
and then you're starting again. And not only to say or to mention, he's got the pressures of all January. Being the top Australian, all the pressure on him.
He's
straight into the United Cup.
UC.
And then he's got the Australian Open.
Yeah.
So much pressure on the poor guy. So, when he spoke about he was a little bit fatigued after Dubai this year before Indian Wells, you can completely see why. So I would think if you finished it end of September, give the players a couple weeks off, 3 weeks off, and then they have, November, December to train.
Anyway, if anyone's listening out there on the tour, we've got some suggestions.
Yeah, exactly.
So get in touch.
Little nap at the end of the year.
Moving to you, Zave.
Yeah, well, what caught my eye?
I feel like we're getting holy, are we?
Well, a little bit. But breaking news, the Pope, the earthly head of the Catholic Church, welcomed a sinner into the Vatican.
Oh my God, that's
and by
really
sinner,
good.
So he's living in sin with Jannik. 2 Italians just having a chat, of course. We got little pictures up here and you can probably hear it on the pod. But Leo the 14th, the newly minted Pope, welcomed the newly minted back on the field, Jannik Sinner. They swapped rackets, they had a chat. The first American Pope, Leo, is the first American Pope. Big tennis fan. He's a bit of an amateur player. There's actually a secret tennis court at the Vatican.
I'm so into that.
Yeah.
What surface is that?
It's
holy water, and it's frozen. So it's the first ice. I don't know.
I think it was, do you know Andy, producer?
Probably clay.
I feel like it was, the court he played on was hard court. Yeah, I don't know. We'll check that. We'll come back to you.
But he's been a very keen tennis player, and so's Jannik. He's quite keen at the tennis.
He's not bad.
But I don't know. Do you reckon Jannik was there to kind of confess a few things, or now that he's
that
back?
was a lengthy handshake. That's all I know. I was waiting for one of them to let go, but and questioning that grip that the Pope was not sure about that. It wasn't a continental.
Yeah, I heard you go,
and a little bit high up on the grip. So
well, Leo, if you need some tips, hit up Luke.
Yeah, I'm looking to fill in a few weeks, so fly me in.
He's actually got quite an American accent.
Yeah, it was like, hey, forget about it.
Yeah, literally.
I'm walking here. He's from
quite
Chicago,
interested.
New
Did you
York.
guys see that video of Jannik going to serve when he was practicing, and then he saw the Jets come over?
Yeah, he did.
He was
And
about to throw the ball toss up, and then he saw the Jets with the colours, with the
It was
Italian colours.
amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Going over and had a bit of a look.
yeah, and he
We'll
was
put that in the
like,
show notes. That's cool.
yeah, it was really cool.
Well, that's what caught my eye.
Yeah, I love it.
Maybe a little bit left to centre, but still sort of tennis related.
Yep.
No, it's really
Nice,
good.
Yeah.
Well done. Cool. We've got a couple other storylines from Rome. We have touched on Paolini quite a bit, but she's going strong. Could Paolini and Sinner win the men's and women's singles title? What do we think? Are we going to have an Italian off again?
Well, if the fans have anything to say about it, yes.
Definitely.
If the Pope has blessed it potentially. But what about in reality, Luke?
No, I definitely think she's a chance, and obviously plays so well on the clay, Paolini, and handling the home pressure quite well. And there were a couple of other results in the men's that caught my eye, and two guys that I think are good sort of outside chances for the French Open. Ben Shelton losing 6-2, 6-1 first round, so I thought that was a bit of a surprise. And Fakina Davidovic, who's been playing well as well, he's given Alex de Minaur a few troubles. I think maybe beat him a few weeks ago, also going down 2-2. So a couple of surprising ones that caught my eye there. And it was their first round, but a second round because they had the bye.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like two guys who will both be seeded at the French Open going down pretty convincingly there. I thought that was a little bit of a shock upset.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about the Paolini-Stearns matchup being, in my mind, 50-50, and Luke's perhaps given the slight edge to Paolini there with good reason. So absolutely every chance she can find herself playing for the title. And as for Sinner, he comes up against Casper Ruud. We know Ruud's best surface by far, I think, is the red clay. He's had his best results across his career on the surface. So that'll be a test for Jannik. He owns the head-to-head there 3-0, but this is the first time they'll meet on clay. So this will be a proper test for him in his first tournament back.
The other one I wanted to call out, massive friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
Storm
Stormy.
Hunter and Ellen Perez. They're into the women's double quarterfinals in Rome. Storm's only been back a couple of months after an Achilles tear, and I just can't believe how well they are doing, and really hope that they make it to the finals.
She's got an Achilles of steel now. No one's going to bust that one open.
No, but how good would it feel for Storm to be, when did she go back? Indian Wells, Miami? She started playing again.
Yeah, she started off playing doubles there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Just before, sorry.
Yeah, just speaking to the Hunter camp, and it felt like they just wanted to ease her back in with some doubles, and then on the clay where it's possibly a little bit easier on the body, start to play some singles. So, yeah, she's struggled a little bit in her first few singles matches. Struggles maybe a bit harsh. She's gone down, but after a year out of the sport and then coming back at the highest level of singles is very difficult. So I think she's finding her feet there in the singles, and great to see winning some doubles matches with Ellen Perez. And I think, as Simon would also say, I feel like even when you're first coming back, wins in doubles is very, very beneficial. Just to get that confidence, just get that winning feeling back, and then you can sort of start the transition onto the singles court and then onto the grass, which she'll play great on.
And they're due to play with other partners at Roland Garros. So Hunter's playing with Dollarhide, and Perez is playing with Milica Martinez. Did I say that right?
You did.
Oh my God, I'm getting better, guys.
Nailed it.
And the other thing I wanted to call out is with Roland Garros around the corner, the French have announced the wildcards, and excitingly, Tristan Skulkate here from Australia and Destiny Aiva is two of those people from Aussie that will be going.
So what's that process like? Like, publicly we know what a wildcard means and people get it, but when you hear about it, it must be crazy to yes, I'm in, and you didn't think you were going to be.
Yeah, well, Steph can probably speak to that better than I can. In terms of the process, behind the scenes here, that's the leadership team, and from a player dev or a performance perspective here at Tennis Australia, that would get together under Tim Jolly's leadership as the director of strategy and performance. And really, these decisions are nuanced, and they're in the margins, and they're not easy to make. And obviously that team, Tim, Paul Kildare, typically the Davis and Billie Jean King Cup captains and the leadership teams get together and make those decisions. And as far as being on the receiving end of it, good, bad or ugly, Luke can probably explain the whole gamut of emotions there at times.
You're good. You're not bad. A little bit ugly, but you'll be right.
No, I've been through the roller coaster.
The ringer.
Yeah. I think looking back on it, a wild card is... it's a privilege. It's one of those things where it's out of your control. It's, if you're not in the tournament on your ranking, you kind of don't deserve to be in the tournament. So if you get it, it's an absolute sort of blessing. You're lucky. So you can't read too much into it. And the thing about a wild card, it can go to sort of anyone. And there's sort of criteria. You can give it to older players that have maybe been top 100 and done a few more things in the sport
on their way back.
Like Andy was wild card here, wasn't he?
And Venus.
Yep.
She's often a wild card places.
Yeah. But, I think more importantly, it's to those up and coming players who need the opportunities, need the experiences. They may be knocking on the door of the top 100, and experiences like this, will help them go to the next level.
Pardon my ignorance. Has there been a wild card Grand Slam champion?
Yes.
And it was...
Goran Ivanisevic.
Ah, cool.
Was
The
it?
year he played Rafter in the final.
Yep.
That's not bad from Sav.
Very good.
Pretty good, isn't he?
Statsman said not bad.
We worked that well off there at the start. There's a little
High five.
Did you actually?
Just
No,
take
No,
that
he's
out.
doing.
No.
He's just smart.
Yeah, I'll take
He
my
is. I know
shoulder
he
there.
is.
Just take that out. That just was brilliant.
Now, Destiny was actually on our sister show this week.
She was. She was on the sit down. Should we take a look?
Yeah.
Great.
What's it like playing the very cream of the crop in the game? And what's it like when you reflect on that you beat Sabalenka, who's now the world's dominant player?
Yeah, I still think about, watching all the girls up there that I've played and knowing how well I've done even against Rebecca. I feel like when I play those quality players, I actually play better. So it's just a matter of getting there myself, actually inside the top 100 and being able to perform day in, day out against those girls and actually play other quality players so I can, keep testing my ability and, and knowing that I do play well against those girls, I think that's one of the things that keeps me going because I see them, playing the big tournaments that I want to play every single week. So, I think, that's definitely motivating for me.
Okay, welcome back. We are spoiled to have experts like Simon Ray on the show today. So we're launching a new segment, which means you're going to have to come back often. And what's it called, Zay?
Simon says, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Ooh. Very nice. Thank you for the extra help there, producer boys.
Lovely, Zay.
So, Simon, what do you say? No, I won't do that bit. You go, bro.
Do it.
Simon, what do you say?
You sound like a frog and he looks like a frog.
Well, I'm not
wearing
sure.
green
I'm
for
not
those
sure
listening.
what I say against that backdrop or that introduction. But what I'm thinking,
He says goodbye.
The
That's what
team
he
asked
says.
me to articulate where we think Iga Swiatek's sitting with Roland Garros right around the corner, and where I think she's sitting is if I'm in the camp there, I'm emphasising that you are the envy of every other player when you walk into the gates in Roland Garros a week from now. You're a 4-time Roland Garros champion. You're a 5-time major winner. You've had some hiccups that we're unaccustomed to seeing from you on your clay court campaign in 2025. But do you want to look at this one or two ways? Do you want to take this recent form and some of these losses as a bit of a burden and something to be worried about and a little concerned about? Or do you see this as a massive opportunity to kind of get back on the front foot and really thrive off that fear factor, which I think she has. As soon as she walks through the gates at Roland Garros, the fear factor that the rest of the competition experiences when they see you, even in the venue, let alone come up against you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the rhetoric or the storytelling, I guess, if you like, or some of the energy that I'd be trying to create if I was in the camp. That's what I say. Now, taking a bit of a deeper look, tracking back, look, we know one of the things that troubles Iga, and Luke would have a view on this as well, I'm sure. If you can starve Iga of time and really play with weapons up in the court and threaten her with some weapons, it's not easy for her. She prefers, if she could draw it up, a little more time on the ball, which is why clay's her preferred surface.
Yeah, plenty of time to get there.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
plenty.
right. She's another player that likes to use her forehand. Luke spoke previously about Peyton Stearns and the clay, the opportunity that allows her to get to her left and use her forehand as a weapon. If there is an Achilles heel in her game, it's her second serve. It's not as easy to take advantage of the second serve on clay. But that's where I'd be focusing if I was in the camp, because some of the concerns are on her second serve numbers. So she's lost recently to Goff, to Ostapenko, and to Collins. If we have a look at these matches, when she played Ostapenko in Stuttgart, she won 39% of her second serve points. 39%. Against Goff, she lost 1-1, got beaten convincingly.
Wow.
40% of her second serve points, so points on her own second serve. When she played Collins, and this is the one that did concern me a little bit, because Ostapenko can take the racket out of your hands at times. So can Goff. Now, that was more one-sided than any of us would have been thinking. Collins, I wouldn't have expected that to play out the way it did. She won just 22% of her second serve points. And I had a deeper look. Last year, she's winning 55 over the year as a whole. She wins 55% of her second serve points. So when we're thinking 39, 40, and 22, we're a long way down on 55. This year as a whole, so far, she's down in the mid-40s. So her second serve, we know it's an Achilles heel for her. It's now starting to be exposed more than we've seen previously. So I've told you what I'm saying if I'm in the camp of Iga, in terms of the messaging that I'm trying to deliver going into Roland Garros. These are some of the things, or this is one area where the competition are trying to pick her off. So that'll be where the coaching team are focusing. There's the emotional hook, and then there's the tactical stuff. So what have we got to do better? Maybe we've got to find more first serves, so the second serve's being exposed less. Maybe we've got to be bolder and more courageous and get after our second serve more often. And that's kind of, I think sometimes those two things can be tied together. So you walk through the gates at Roland Garros. This is your territory. Every other player is trying to knock you off here, and you've got the fear factor here. So let's believe in your kick serve again. Let's get that thing launching. Maybe it's back to basics. Let's keep it simple. Every second serve goes to the righty backhand, and we back your execution to get it lifting and kicking and jumping on players. But let's do it with more viciousness than what we've been delivering of late. So that's how I see the Iga Swiatek game coming into Roland Garros. Some bumps in the road, sure. Still the queen of clay for me, and still my favourite going into Roland Garros.
And that's what Simon said.
How was that?
Yeah, that was intense, and
I'm still
ready
thinking
to
about
go.
some of the numbers.
Yeah, there was some big and there was some small. That was very good. Luke, any thoughts?
I think, she's definitely got that aura, like sort of Rafa has when they walk through the gates, and 4-time champion and playing her on Chatrier definitely has that different feeling. So I think exactly what you said, trying to channel sort of that narrative to her if you're in the camp of Swiatek. So very interesting. Those second serve numbers definitely very down on previous years.
Concerning.
Very concerning. And I think, a lot of the women, they don't want to get into sort of any baseline exchanges with her, right? So the second serve is, sort of the first shot in the rally if you're the opponent. So you're trying to take it, take advantage, trying to be aggressive. So I think that's definitely an area where they're trying to get at her, and it's proving that bit of a sort of concerning area for her at the moment.
Yeah. Let's get back to a strengths-based approach. Kick serve, heaviness of the forehand, physicality and movement, and willingness and ability to defend on the surface. No one can get through you at this venue at Roland Garros. If the courts are lively, sometimes in Paris we see 30 degrees and lively courts. Sometimes we see 10 degrees.
And it's always
and
spooky
raining.
when everyone there's wearing the same hat.
Yeah, it's weird. Someone told me I need to buy one, and I was like, I will not be doing
No, you're
that.
there for work.
I think I'm saying
You have
if
a TA
the
card.
courts are lively, you can use your weapons to great effect. If
Yep.
the courts are playing a bit more dead and a bit more slow, then players can't get through you because of how good a defender you are. So you can come at it from either way you want, really, if you're in the coaching team.
And Luke, Iga's about to go to match call right now. You got one sentence to yell out to her for her to listen. Go. Oh, that's an interesting choice.
A raspy
Yeah, just
sigh.
Back yourself. You've won this thing 4 times.
But then, unfortunately, she's got those giant headphones on, and
she
she'd
can't
turn around and
hear
go,
you.
"What?"
I go, eager. Take the headphones off.
Sage advice. No, that's it.
You've won this 4 times.
Yeah.
10 less than Rafa. It's still pretty good.
Yeah,
Let's
but a
go
ways
get
to
it.
go before you
like
get a
it.
statue out the front.
Yes. Yeah. She needs at least 3 more, probably.
Yeah, fair call.
Let's roll into Ace of the Week.
Great.
Who
Well,
wants
if
to go
anyone's
first?
still listening, no. Over to you, bro.
Luke, how are you?
I can go. No, I had the mum for Mother's Day come over from South Australia this weekend.
Very good
So
of the week.
great to see her, my brother and his son.
Oh,
And because on the Thursday show, Bree
Last week.
said that Carlton were going to win.
yep.
So we decided to go to that game. It was pretty boring because I knew the result.
Yeah.
Always going to win.
And this is why
So-
tarot is bad.
So, yep, Bree was
Miss the
right.
nerves that you normally
Yeah,
have,
exactly.
that
And then,
exist.
and then played a bit of tennis on Saturday. Went to the blockbuster game, Richmond and West Coast, 17th and 18th on
I
Sunday.
can't believe Richmond won.
But
The one game I decided not to watch.
2 points. My little nephew, he likes Richmond, so I went to that
Oh.
one and then dropped in the airport Monday morning. So good to see them. They were ready to get back to the country where they don't really see
It's a bit
many people
raucous
at all.
out here in the big city.
Yes.
Yeah, and footy matches for people who aren't used to being in large volumes of people.
Yeah. Well, they're
Yeah.
probably used to
Yeah.
watching footy from the back of a ute, not the top of the G.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, we're in the Carlton cheer squad. Really good fun. A good win for Carlton. A few injuries, but showed a lot of heart. So,
Ace.
Yeah,
right? Love it.
nice.
yeah, that's my ace.
Good one.
How about you, Zoe?
Well, I was planning to say, I've finally got a haircut, but I didn't get a haircut.
No, I can still see that weird curl at the back of your
I've
neck.
got this weird little ringlet happening
like you
here.
keep, yeah, there's like this weird
All right.
flicky thing.
Okay, all right.
You need a haircut.
It's an audio product. Oh, we're on tube. Oh, yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? So I'm going to throw it out there. It was Mother's Day on the weekend, and the boys and I put on a big day for their mum, and we cooked a beautiful lunch. Everyone had fun, and they gave her some gifts they made at kinder and at school.
Did you pop them in the bin?
I didn't, but let's just say they might be there now.
Did Kat?
Maybe.
I love her. Yeah, good.
Filing them away for the garbage man to find. No, but Mother's Day was great, so shout out to all the mums out there. No, it was just really fun day.
Good.
Yeah. And hopefully I'll have a haircut by this time next week.
Yeah. Let's hope for our
or
YouTubers.
do I embrace it and just go...
Maybe you could go... I
full
reckon
early
you could
Guy
good with a
Sebastian.
bob.
Oh.
Like a Lord Farquhar.
Oh, I was thinking more like Karen, can I speak to the manager style?
That too, Prue and True. From Kath and Kim.
We're coming into winter, so
Yeah, keep me warm.
grow the locks out.
Yeah.
Maybe a ponytail.
Finally.
Would you do that?
Oh, top knot. We need to chat GPT some of these hairstyles on you.
Yeah.
I'm so into this.
Well, that's the afternoon sorted.
Yeah.
If we do that, we'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
totally. Simon.
Mine's probably on a similar theme. Mother's Day, well, obviously a very special day for all mums. And the kids, so my eldest two, Charlie and Edie, I'm not a Cats fan, but they managed to, their grandparents and cousins, and they are all mad Cats fans living down in Geelong like we do. And so they managed to secure themselves a pass or a ticket to the Cats game, which the Cats were... they didn't come out on the right side of the ledger of on this occasion, but it was still a great atmosphere for a youngster. And just on Bree's, she touched on the exact right note there where she said something about the overwhelming crowds. My daughter came with me to the game. That was the first time she's made it, but she didn't quite get to the start line. Just a little bit too many people, too much
full on.
noise.
It's
Yeah,
a
a little
lot.
bit too full on. So
Yeah.
Mum had to come down and pick her up from the other side of the St. Mary's Oval there. But Charlie,
Bless
he
her.
really enjoyed the day, and we're really grateful for what Anna, their mum, does for us, for me, and for all of us and our family.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
that. Well, my ice of the week is
Yeah,
not
what's
to do
yours,
with
Brie?
Mother's Day because I am not a mother. And
What about your dog and your
I
cat
am
that
a
you
mother.
always
I'm a
forget
cat
about?
and a dog mum. But yeah, my parents are back home in Newey. But my ace of the week is that I hop on a plane on Tuesday evening to go to Paris for Roland Garros.
Yeah.
Which will be fun.
Nice.
Viva.
Yeah, so I won't be here next week.
Oh,
but
even better.
I know.
I've got a new ace of the week, guys.
Totally fair.
No, that's
you
fine.
know what?
No,
Lots
you're going
of
to be
people feel like
hobnobbing it
that.
over there at the Champs-Élysées, having your escargot.
Escargot.
Yeah, as you did
French
say,
people do
you're
not
from
understand
Newey.
me. No, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going over to do some stuff and figure out how the French do opening week. Not figure out, but just be exposed to their opening week.
Yeah.
Look at their media day stuff. Do some meetings and see how our Aussies go. Get
Yeah,
some
that's gonna be
content of
great.
our Aussies and qualies, which, it's always hard for us over here to get content of our Australian players for our Tennis Australia platform. So very excited about that. And I will be hanging out with our ball kids who are in the Roland Garros
Oh, because we're
squad.
sending some Aussie ball kids
We've
over,
got
aren't we?
2 kids going over.
Oh, that's cool.
So I will be doing some content with them, like day in the life and what it's like to work in the Roland Garros ball kids squad versus AO ball kids squad. So lots of fun things happening, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's great. It's weird to think like all these. There's 4 Grand Slams, so we're the Australian Open. Like each one probably has like their version of a Brie, like their head of
They
content.
do. His name's Emmanuel.
Yeah, he looks exactly like you. He's got a little mustache, a little beret, always riding a bike with a baguette out the front. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Were you on Clay Court 1 on Tuesday?
Yeah. Were you
Yeah.
playing
I hit
2
on
down?
that after it, and
Oh my
I was
God.
wondering who didn't bag the court afterwards.
Whoops, daisy.
No, that's good.
That's PR's job.
Yeah, Prue Ryan.
Come on,
I
guys.
was just there to get some kids to draw on a croissant on a whiteboard.
Yeah,
That's
and they're
what
all
we
writing
were
their
doing.
names in the
Hey,
clay.
come on. You know that, the bag Clay Court.
Bree
Yeah.
was here.
Yeah, tennis etiquette. Well, you're going to the home of clay, so you better get that right when you're over there.
But anyway, I met the kids. I'm on a group chat with all our team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how their experience is. Because imagine being 15
Oh, that'd be crazy.
and getting awarded this trip to go to Paris. Like,
Unreal.
and they're such lovely kids.
Yeah.
All our ball kids are. I actually love our ball kid squad. But what just a special
Yeah.
thing to be able to do. And one of them turns 16 when they get over there. Are you going over, Luke?
Yep.
Yep, great.
Yep.
I'll be able to see you guys because I want to get as much content of our Aussies to be really able to promote everyone and hopefully we go well.
Yeah, it'd
Big
be really good.
contingency of
Oh,
Australian
Damon's going
players.
to take it. I can feel it. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's what
he's
we're all
good.
manifesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God. You've got his name written on you, Luke.
Yes. Yep. Shout out to the foundation. There it is. There's the
that
camera.
was
Very good.
good
But
product placement.
quarterfinals last year, and as I said before, he could sort of freshen up in this week leading up, and I think he's a real chance. He's been playing really well, a solid clay court swing so far, and I think he can definitely make a run.
Yep. Well, that might wrap us up for today.
What a journey. Well done, Bree. Well done,
Thanks.
gentlemen, across from us.
Thanks for being part of the show. It's always a pleasure to have you both. Look forward to seeing you soon in the coming weeks.
Thanks for having us
I
back on.
won't be here. I will be in Paris. I will be calling
Did
in.
you just hear that? That's our audience sighing a little
I
bit of
know.
relief.
But I will be calling in
Oh, that's right. We'll put you on the big screen.
from Roland Garros with Duncan and a few others. Might get Bernie on as well to talk about how the Aussies are going. But in the meantime, don't forget you can watch this episode and every other episode of The Tennis on YouTube channel, Australian Open TV. And while you're there, be sure to hit the bell, subscribe, stay across the tennis all year round. And of course, you can listen in your ears on any podcast provider you prefer. Thanks, team. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
And
That was
see
fun.
you next week.
Yeah.
Safe travels.